If you had one shot or one opportunity to seize everything you ever wanted in one moment, would you capture it or just let it slip? Yo. His palms are sweaty, knees weak, arms are heavy. There's vomit on his sweater already. Mom's spaghetti, he's nervous, but on the surface he looks calm and ready to drop bombs. But he keeps on forgetting what he wrote down. The whole crowd goes so loud, he opens his mouth, but the words won't come out. He's choking how? Everybody's choking now. The clock's run out, time's up, over, loud. Snap back to reality. Oh, there goes gravity. Oh, there goes rabbit. He choke. He's so mad, but he won't give up. Daddies, he know he won't have it. He knows his whole back to these ropes. It don't matter, he's dope. He knows that, but he's broke. He's so stacked that he knows when he goes back to this mobile home, that's when it's back to the lab again, yo. This old rhapsody better go back to this moment and hope it don't pass him.
Listen, we can talk about the flag, but let's talk about... Wait.
And a very good morning, everybody. Welcome to Trending in the AM right here on DSM Media Live, as always, every day, 8:30 a.m., Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. Make sure you get this show shared out, everybody, because it's going to be a doozy. We're going to have a lot of fun again, just complaining and bitching and moaning about our Philadelphia Phillies. I'm your host, Phil Stifle, at Bearded Knowledge on Twitter. Make sure you shoot me a follow. Join this morning, rolling bushy-eyed and bright tails out of bed, Mr. Dylan Davis, at DylanJD98. Good morning, Dylan. How you doing today?
What's going on, Phil? I'm great here in the wee hours. Coming home from vacation, waking up. I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll do the show tomorrow. Alarm goes off at 8. I'm like, oh, God damn, why did I say yes? And then the Phillies do what they did last night. And we were joking before the show started. Like, it's actually pretty impressive at this point how they find it's a new way to lose every single night almost. So, if for nothing else, there's comical reasons to keep watching this team.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm getting tired of talking Phillies every day. It's literally June 1st today, and I'm already tired of talking Phillies. We've got to do it. I've already pre-set up the rest of the week's schedule, unless Joe Girardi gets fired, which it doesn't seem like it's going to happen anytime soon. Unless that happens, tomorrow I got Scotty, I got Esfandar, Bohemi. I'm mispronouncing his name, from The Ringer. We're going to talk NBA Finals. I got Jason and Mark. I already told them, unless something happens Friday, it's going to be all football and all Eagles on Friday. So I need a break. But then it's like, I was going to come up with something different to talk about today. And then last night happens. And it's just like, I just need to keep complaining about how bad this team is. It's pathetic. It really is. And the question really is, what has to happen? How bad does it have to get for them to make some form? Look, firing Joe Girardi is not going to magically make everything better. No. But it's not going to make it any worse. How far do they have to fall into the quicksand? Like right now, they're 50 games in. They're 21-29 right now. 12 and a half games out of first place. They need to win 71 of their next 112 games or whatever it is left, just to get to the 92 wins that I know Mark and Jason predicted. I had 82 wins predicted, but that's another whole subject. They have to win literally at a 70% clip to get to that mark. Whereas the Mets, who are on first place, only have to win just over 50% of their games the rest of the year to get to 92 wins. That's how far they've fallen. So the question is, how much further do they have to fall? So John Middleton says, yo, get the hell out of here to everybody. Because I don't know what else needs to happen. You say they find a new way to lose every night. Well, what else has to happen?
Yeah. I don't have the answer to it, man. Listen, there's people out there that think, he should have been fired after the Mets series, but then obviously our good friend Gabe is in town, so people are looking at the optics and saying, they're not going to can him right here while Gabe's in town and Gabe's team's whooping our ass and blah, blah, blah. I don't know. Listen, do they have to be 18 games under 500? Do they have to be 25 games under 500? I don't know. What needs to happen, because they've already had enough devastating losses, which I'll get to later, that would allow, be like, wait, something's wrong here. You see little league play after little league play in the field. I remember a couple days ago when JT threw down the second base and it went past Segura, and then Odubel came to back it up and it went under Odubel's glove, basically to the wall.
So, all those guys in the starting lineup the next night.
Right. So you have devastating blow after devastating blow. The offense has been underwhelming. The bullpen is bad / mismanaged, and there's little league play. And what does little league play tell you, Phil? No one seems to care. There's no energy. There's no life in that dugout right now. And there's been players stating that. Some players have come out and said, they don't see that. They don't see like the things that are being reported. Other players said that they and their families have said the same stuff to
I was
them.
just gonna suggest it. You're saying it's like little league play, but it's like high school drama behind the scenes
Right.
too. Because when you've got, I know Nick Castellanos and Kyle Gibson specifically have been leaked in the rumors that their family members are texting them. Do you guys not want to be there? Right, like that they can see the lack of energy, the lack of desire. Look, Kyle Gibson's at least been here for like 6 months. Nick Castellanos just got here, and it's already rubbing off on him. The lack of the laziness. Jason said it the other day, the 3 L's: lazy, lackadaisical, and losers. And that's the mentality of this team. They have a loser mentality.
Mhm.
And it's showing that their families see it. And now there's a little behind the scenes, quiet little high school drama going on with it all.
Dude, I want to say either Ben Davis or Ricky Bowe, which is another game I'll get to, a devastating blow. When on the road trip when they were in Atlanta and Bryce hit that monster 8th inning home run to give them the lead, and it was like, oh my God, like this is a win that can change the series, right? And I want to say it was Ben Davis on the postgame show, kind of told them to flash the dugout the moment Bryce hit the bomb, and there was nothing. Yeah. Bryce was pumped up, coming around third base. Let's effing go. The dugout, they're just still arms on the dugout, just looking. Oh yeah, like what? You're in a division rival's house. The MVP just hits one off the brick wall in right field to give you guys the lead in a game you had no business still being in, a game that could turn the season around if you hold on, and everybody's just lackadaisical, as Jason said. Everybody's lifeless. It makes zero sense to me.
And I've said it 100 times. You take on the personality of your coach.
Yeah.
And when you have a guy as Sleepy Joe as your coach, that's where the lifelessness comes from.
Yeah.
And the fact that look, I guess to an extent he's coaching for his job right now. But the problem is, it's like that domino quicksand effect. You keep trying to reach for moves that shouldn't be. Like, you just look at last night. We could just look at last night's 7-4 extra inning loss. And, it's now the third game in a row you've defensive replaced Nick Castellanos in right field. And I think every single time Roman Quinn has had to come up in, it's like the second or third extra inning game.
Oh, it's in my notes right here.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay. See, you got your notes.
Yeah, it's their third straight extra inning loss. In all 3 games, Roman Quinn has replaced Nick Castellanos. In 2 of the 3, he has made the final out in extra innings with runners in scoring position for the Phillies. And in the other game, he was caught stealing, making the final out at second base.
Okay. I forgot about the caught stealing part of it. Look, that's not good. You got your young center fielder from spring training tearing it up in his rehab assignment.
Yank him.
6th inning, you yank him last night for a pinch hitter?
Yeah.
What's that do to that kid's confidence? And it's not like you're yanking him for your all-star starter that we were just – it's not like you had freaking Lenny Dykstra out there and he was just getting a day of rest and maintenance and you wanted to put him in there because he's more clutch. You're benching Mickey Moniak in the 6th inning for Odubel Herrera. That sends a bad message to your entire team, not just to Mickey Moniak. Mickey Moniak needs to be out there. I don't care if he's hitting 0 for 20. He's only had 5 or 6 plate appearances since he's been called up. And yes, he's struck out in almost all of them. But you know what? You let him out there for at least 30, 40, 50 at-bats before you even consider it. The constant changing of Bryson Stott and, Gene Segura last night. I don't know if you saw it, man.
Broken finger.
That was one of the few minutes I watched. I'm guaranteeing that's a broken hand. He's going to be out of
broken finger, Salisbury said last night.
Oh, he did. I didn't see Jim Salisbury's tweet. Yeah. I mean, he's going to be out for 6 weeks. That means now they're just going to move shit around. I made a joke last night. The season's lost already. You might as well bring Scotty Kingery back up. Scotty Jetpacks. I know he's hitting 186 in AAA right now, but geez. I
didn't even know he was still playing baseball.
Yeah. He's actually he's been healthy for about like a month now, and he's not doing well. Not at all.
Phil, you might be right. Maybe it does seem like he's coaching for his job right now and he's just pressing all these buttons. The problem is none of the buttons even make sense.
No,
Like it's not like, Doc's reaching down his bench because he needs some scoring and, it's not working, but you can understand the logic. He needs somewhere else to go. Replacing Nick Castellanos for Roman Quinn in 3 straight games doesn't make sense. Having Nick Nelson go out there in the 8th and the 9th inning in that game against Atlanta doesn't make sense. You know what else doesn't make sense? His 3-day in a row bullpen nonsense.
That's bullshit because it feels like Nick Nelson pitches.
He's out there every night.
Every night, 2 innings a night. But yeah,
meanwhile,
3 in a row.
Meanwhile, Sir Anthony Dominguez threw 1 pitch on Saturday and then pitched the next day. He was shut down the night that who was in there? I think Bilotti was in there in extra innings. And I'll tell you what else doesn't make sense, Phil. Listen, I'm not saying Familia is troublesome. Alvarado doesn't have any control, right? Brad Hand's not the savior. Corey Knebel has shown his flaws in 2 straight games, right? I get it. The bullpen's not good, but you're paying all these guys money. You're paying all this money to all these guys, excuse me. And it seems to me, and it's been from the beginning of the season, it's not even just right now. I'm seeing Brad Hand, Sir Anthony Dominguez, Familia, Alvarado. I'm seeing them out there in the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th. And then I'm seeing the likes of Nick Nelson, Norwood, Bilotti out in the 8th and 9th inning. And the extra innings because you already threw the guys too early. It doesn't make sense.
Well, we'll get back to that, going out there because yesterday was a bullpen game. We're going to get to that in a second. I suggested it yesterday. I got a question for you. I suggested it yesterday. Jason didn't have an answer for me yesterday. So I'm going to ask you.
Okay.
Is there something like a hex on the Phillies bullpen itself, like the actual physical bullpen? Is there something like a scent coming off the ivory out there in center field? Because they spent money on the bullpen. These guys, now none of them are closers. Corey Knebel has not been a closer since 2017. Familia hasn't been a closer successfully for a while. All these guys are all 6th, 7th, 8th inning guys. But you know what? They were all fairly successful, at least average last year. Dating back for the last 5 or 7 years, they have spent money to change or flip the bullpen every offseason. You look at what was the new Dave Robertson, one of the best pitchers in baseball, relief pitchers. We bring him in, he pitches 1 inning in 2 years.
Remember the trade deadline? Not last year, or was it last year or 2 years? Yeah. When we went out and got Brandon Workman and
Hembry or
Heath Hembry.
And they were really good pitchers. And then all of a sudden they stunk.
Yeah.
There is a jinx, a curse. I don't know. What was it? They buried a Babe Ruth jersey under home plate back when it was being built at the stadium. And it was like a curse. Like, there's got to be something wrong with this bullpen, the physical bullpen, because there is legit. If I was a relief pitcher and I was looking to have a chance to pitch regularly.
It's not here.
I wouldn't want to come to Philly because they're legitimately, I don't believe in curses and that kind of stuff, but legitimately it seems like there's a problem out there in that bullpen.
So what's funny to me is the bullpen wasn't even one of the top 3 issues 2 weeks ago. They were fine. Like, yeah, there was a blown save here and there. You had the Mets blown game in the 9th, and it was here and there. Now it's just become a consistent problem. I have no idea. My only question would be, listen, I know there were bullpen issues when Gabe Kapler was here and pre-Gabe Kapler, but those bullpens had, like, no names in them. Like, none, right? My only answer could be the mismanagement of it.
Yeah, I really think
how nobody has a role and how weirdly you're used. One game you're in the 5th, one game you're closing out the game. How you can't pitch more than 3 days in a row or 2 days in a row, his weird rule. I would have to look at other bullpens. I don't know how, managers manage their bullpens and how much different it is, but it seems like it's just weird here. And like I said, Sir Anthony Dominguez thing specifically.
Even to this moment, they're not pitching as a whole badly. I mean, Nick Nelson, 4.260. These are the guys from yesterday, 4.26 ERA. Brogdon's got a 2.89 ERA. Dominguez, 1.83. Familia is at 3.79, and Bilotti is at 3.86.
And I know Hand's pretty good too.
Yeah, and Knebel. Knebel and Hand, I think, is in the upper 2s, and I think Knebel's in the low 3s after his last blown save. So it's not like even our worst guys are pitching badly. But you hit it on the head. The mismanagement is insane. It's completely insane.
Well,
And
athletes. God.
No, I was going to say, Joe Girardi, he won a World Series as a manager. But it was pretty easy to manage that bullpen in the Yankees when you had Mariano Rivera. You could throw out there 75, 80 times and never worry about a thing.
Yeah. I was going to say athletes are creatures of habit, specifically MLB players. So my point of all this, when you don't have a role in a position where 95% of the league has these guys in roles, you're a setup guy, you're a middle reliever, you're our closer. This one guy is our closer. Maybe we have a 1B fallback option, right? There's no system in this bullpen. He just puts a blindfold on, calls a name, and picks one out of a hat. Like, he has no idea what he's doing, man. Like, and then his explanations are such BS. They ask him about it after the game, and he gets like almost Doc-like. He gets snarky with the reporters when they ask about, well, why?
At least Doc was getting us to the playoffs.
Yeah, they're like, well, why wasn't Sir Anthony available? We weren't comfortable with it. He wasn't available. He pitched Saturday. He threw one pitch Saturday, Joe. Like, your answers make no sense.
I mean, you look back. I mean, it was before your time. I'm guessing Dylan JD 98 means that you were born in 98.
It does.
That's my guess there.
Uh-huh.
But the 93 Phillies. Mitch Williams probably threw 80 games. He was out there 4 or 5 nights in a row. You knew every single night Larry Anderson or David West would be coming in that 8th inning all the time. And whoever was in the 8th inning, the other was in the 7th inning. Every single night. Those 3 starting pitchers or relief pitchers knew their role. And guess what? Yeah, Mitch Williams was the wild thing. He made it a little stressful in the 9th inning. But you know what? They did their job. You knew in 08, Ryan Madsen every 8th inning, Brad Lidge every 9th inning.
Yeah, we're paying for that.
What's his name? What was it JC Romero or the other guy?
Yeah.
I forget which years was Romero and who was the other lefty that we had during that stretch? Another Spanish guy, a Spanish name, Ramirez, and I can't remember his name. Anyway, you always knew you had your lefty for the 7th or 8th inning. You had Ryan Madsen and you had Brad Lidge. There's no doubt about it. Hell, we can go to Jonathan Papelbon. We knew Papelbon would be out there in the 9th inning every single day.
Right. At least there's a role.
2 out of 3.
Right. And listen, if your argument is, well, they don't have a legit closer, well, then why didn't you go find one this summer or this offseason? I mean, like, you spent all this money, right? You grabbed Hand, you grabbed Familia, you grabbed Knable. I get it, but why in the world would you just leave such a hole open? Unless Knable's clearly supposed to be the closer, but it's not always feeling like that. Like, sometimes I've seen him out there in the 7th inning before. It doesn't make sense. Another thing he did, Phil, that I was going to bring up earlier. How about when he brings Bailey Falter up to throw a bullpen game when all the starters are healthy? Because he had to get.
I want to know about that because Zach Eflin, like, did he ask for that?
I have no idea.
I can't see him asking for it. Then I start seeing rumors that he might have asked for an extra day. Dude, there's no excuse for that.
No.
And then you get blown out that game.
And
now
you get sent down.
And then Zach Eflin went out and threw a clunker the next day.
Yeah.
Probably because his rotation, if he didn't ask for it, his 5th day, he got bumped. That throws the routine of a starting pitcher off. So you brought up Zach Eflin. That's great because I've been comparing Zach Eflin. I've been talking about Zach Eflin versus Vince Velasquez for a couple days now, where Vince Velasquez, we bashed that guy nonstop. And honestly, Zach Eflin's not much better. And he's got this long leash. Everybody thinks Zach Eflin's so great. And, everybody's giving him this leash. Well, he'll get there. Someday he'll be there. Dude, Zach Eflin's been on this team now for 7 seasons. Mm-hmm. Zach Eflin is who he is. Not very good. Mm-hmm. Now, after last night, we've got 2 pitchers to compare to Vince Velasquez because Zach Eflin gets way too long of a leash for being mediocre. And now Ranger Suarez is slowly turning into Vince Velasquez. Can't get through 5 innings without throwing 100 pitches every time out there. He's constantly getting pulled in the 4th or 5th inning with 90 and 100 pitches.
Well, I'll solve 2 problems with one stone here. Ranger Suarez can be my closer right now. And I need to find another starter for the time being because
you think he can close?
I do. I think he did it a little bit when they were red hot last summer before he became a starter. I think, like, I remember that Red Sox series. I'm pretty sure he was out there closing games, and when they took 2 or 3 in Fenway or whatever.
Okay.
So I do think he can. But he's a problem too. And you know what? You know what this pitching staff has an issue of, Phil, that great or good teams don't have? When your offense battles and goes and gets you a lead, or they're trailing and they go and tie it up in a certain whatever point it is in the game, you don't come out the next half inning and give it back. Aaron Nola does it constantly. Zach Eflin does it constantly. What does Ranger Suarez do last night? Phillies take a lead. Very next inning, they're down 2. Good teams, good pitchers, they do not do that.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like, he had 5 hits, 2 runs, 3 walks, 5 Ks. Now, if that was over 7 innings, that'd be pretty good. But 4 to 3rd, 100 pitches, that's bad. That's bad. I did look. He had 4 saves last year. So that must have been when you were talking about. I didn't even realize he had any saves last year. So, but even the starting pitching as a whole, we say the bullpen as a whole, the numbers don't look bad. It's just they're coming up small in the wrong moments. And when you're having 4 or 5 relievers every game, one of them has a bad night. The starting pitching as a whole hasn't been awful. But yet again, when 1 or 2 of them has a bad run each rotation, and then you have your bullpen issues,
right?
That's where you become 21 and 29.
Well,
but again, that all comes back to Joe Girardi.
Yeah.
Defined roles, define, what expectations are expected of you. And no accountability on any of them. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, you said it perfectly with accountability. Like when Odubel misses that ball in center field and then he's playing the next day. Like, again, that's a little league mistake, and you're out there playing the next day.
But that's actually a great point, because I just thought of it. I was looking at the box score. Alec Boehm had his 7th error. 3 of them, obviously, in the first 3 innings of that game, very beginning of the season. Alec Boehm has one of his worst games that anybody's ever had, and he got benched for how long?
Yep.
Mickey Moniak strikes out last night, and he gets benched.
And they're the young guys.
Herrera screws up and gets rewarded with more playing time. So the consistency and the message you're sending to your team. I've been saying it since that Angel Hernandez Mets Sunday Night Baseball game. That is the day that Joe Girardi lost his team, because both sides. It was
the Brewers game. I was there.
Brewers game that Angel Hernandez.
With the 1-0 when
when Schwarber got thrown out for arguing balls and strikes. Mm-hmm. I thought it was Mets. Anyway, he lost the team there, because that was one of the worst umpire games. There's a Twitter page, I recently found it, that they track every home plate umpire.
Oh, it was horrible, dude. He was in like 70%
accuracy. Yeah. Dude, it was one of the worst ever. Both managers should have come out and argued it. They should have been talking to each other through the bullpen phones. And they both should have come out and yelled at Angel Hernandez that night. And they didn't. Kyle Schwarber had a blow up. And Joe Girardi came out of the dugout when Kyle Schwarber blew up and just came out and just strutted stuff, said, yo, come on. Let's go. Shoulders slumped, whatever. He lost the team that night.
Yeah.
But it started with the inconsistent message that he's sending to his team on a daily basis. What kind of message does pinch hitting or putting Roman Quinn in every single day as a defensive replacement, Mickey Moniak, benching him, all these things? It's a bad message that if you're over a certain age and you've got a certain amount of time in this league, you can do whatever you want. But if you're one of the young kids,
Doc Rivers.
Yeah, Doc Rivers. Exactly. But at least, look, Glenn Rivers needs to be gone. I know that, and he's not going to be. But at least he got us to the playoffs. So Joe Girardi ain't going to sniff the playoffs in a Phillies uniform.
Exactly. And here's the thing with both of those situations right now in Philly. Neither one of them, and we'll just keep it to Joe Girardi, obviously. Like, he's not the only problem with this team. But like you said, if nothing, it shows accountability. And even if they're not better, like even if they just are what they are, it at least shows that they're holding their players and their managers accountable. So this team doesn't know how to win. And when I say that, like, they don't know how to close out games, not just on the mound, at the box too. And that's a problem. And there's been the highs and the lows so far this season just tell the story. Like I said earlier, there are too many devastating blows through 50 games. Like, just off the top of my head this morning, I wrote them down. You have the 9th inning collapse versus the Mets, which is historically bad, finished, blown game for the Phillies.
Not historically Phillies bad, like historically baseball bad.
Yeah. You had the 2-out 9th inning in LA when you're going for the 4-game sweep against the Dodgers, which really started this whole mess because they were red hot before that, right? You have this Giant series right now. You've lost both games in extra innings. And then on the road trip, you had the Bryce Harper home run in the 8th inning in Atlanta. As I mentioned earlier, they blow the game with what's his face out on the bump, Nick Nelson on the bump in the 9th inning. And then even against the Mets, Nick Castellanos hits a 3-run home run in the 8th inning. Take the lead. They not only do they blow it in the 9th, Corey Knebel gives up the first home run to, oh my God, what was this kid's name? It was his first career home run. He hit a bomb off Corey Knebel. Like, stuff like this doesn't happen. And then on the counterpart,
You say they don't know how to win. They know how to lose.
Yeah, on the counterpart,
let losing mentality.
They've had moments this year where you can point to and say, like, that could turn the season around, or that should have turned the season around. And then the very next night, they're flat. That tells you all you need to know. When you have moments that should, jumpstart a team and energize a team and get them going, when they're this talented. Nick Plummer took Corey Knebel for a piss missile.
What's a Mets fan doing jumping on in here?
I don't know, man.
I think somebody wants to join us here today. I think somebody is as pissed off and fired up as we are. What's up? We got El Parcero here.
What's going on, boys? How we feeling?
How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I got done my recap this morning because obviously last night the game ends at 11:40 and I'm already falling asleep, and I'm just figuring let's just leave this for the morning. And
you watched it?
I watched all 11 innings as I was trying to stay awake with it, and boys, we're in trouble. We're definitely in trouble here.
It's sorry, Dylan. Your thought process was cut off there, but
no.
I was thinking about it today and this morning, and guys, we're all basketball fans as well. Is this team less enjoyable to watch with all this money being spent and everything than the 10-win process Sixers? Because I remember watching every one of those 10-win process Sixers, and yes, I knew they were going to lose every game. But I enjoyed it because I was thinking, like, it's building to something, hopefully. I care less about this team right now than the 10-win process Sixers. And I got that roster up on my screen. Like, some of the names that played games and a lot of games. Like Isaiah Cannon played 77 starts for us that year.
Ish Smith on that team, right?
Ish Smith. Tony Roten was still on that team for a bit.
Henry Sims.
Sauce.
Jakar
Sam.
McDaniels on that team?
Who? No, KJ McDaniels was not.
He got traded early because he had.
I remember. I thought KJ McDaniels was going to be it.
Yeah,
Hinkie knew when to trade those guys.
He had a big dunk in one game, and I really thought that he was going to be this new Andre Iguodala. Yeah. Hollis Thomas led our team in three-point shooting that year. Guy, is this team less enjoyable than that 10-win Sixers team?
It's funny you say that, Phil, because when I watch this team, like I just continuously think of the Sixers right now, not even that team. Because when I look at it, you got a manager, and that's where you got to start off. You got a manager who's still living in his glory days, whereas Doc Rivers still thinking it's 2008, and he's got KG, Paul Pierce, and Ray Allen. And I feel like Joe Girardi thinks the same thing. Like Joe Girardi back in those days had really good bullpen pieces that were able to hold up with what he wants to try to do here. And obviously, like, you got Joel Embiid, you got Bryce Harper, 2 MVP candidates. And I think that Bryce Harper will be able to go on the tear that he was on last year. But when I watched this team over the past couple of days, I just noticed that we built this team thinking that we were going to out-hit everyone, which in hindsight, that's fair to think. But now you're going up against the Giants, you're going up against the Mets, who are pretty deep. And the last 2 games against the Giants, you've gone into extra innings. And now you got to rely on going in deep into your bullpen that's not great whatsoever and probably are a little bit fatigued at the moment. And you're seeing what's happening. You got the 9th batter of the Giants is putting work on you. You got Edwin Diaz, which is a solid closer, is freaking tearing you up with the Mets bullpen, and the Phillies just don't have the depth to keep up with some of these good teams. Now, after this series against the Angels, it starts getting. I'm sorry, after the Brewers series. So you got the one game here against the Giants today. You got the Angels, then you got the Brewers, and then it gets easier. You got the Diamondbacks, Marlins, and Nationals, which obviously, as we all know, those aren't given series either. But I do think that this organization is thinking that, all right, this first part of the season's tough. You had some really good opponents. Once we get to some of those easier opponents, things will be fine. But this team does remind me of the Sixers in the fact that you got a coach living his glory days. You got to envy what a generational type of player here. And you just got some young players here who are just not developing, and you're not deep.
I kind of disagree with you on the schedule a little bit, because saying that it's an easier schedule going forward, and I've been looking at the schedule as well. On paper, it is if this is a good team, but this is not a good team. Yeah. So you're just assuming that a bad team's going to beat another bad team, and that's not the case. Maybe we win half the games. That's the best I can expect.
We're Phillies fans here, Phil. We got to take everything with a grain of salt. But when you look at it on paper, man, the Phillies should win these series against the likes of the Nationals, the Marlins, and the Diamondbacks. But like you said, you got to take everything for a grain of salt, man. Which sucks.
Everyone talks about the mismanagement of the bullpen, and you say that they're supposed to out-hit everybody, but the problem is that he mismanaged. Nobody talks about his mismanagement of the lineup, too. Nobody knows who's the leadoff hitter every night. Nobody knows who's going to be in the 2-hole every night. Outside of Bryce Harper in the 3-hole.
And Nick Castellanos, that's it.
I mean, Nick Castellanos was bumped up to the 2-hole for a few games. So no, he doesn't even know. I'm waiting for the day that he leads off Bryce Harper in the next couple of days. I mean, it's coming. The way he doesn't know, because he's literally just randomly trying to figure it out, because I do think deep down inside he knows he's fighting for his job. He doesn't want to go out like this. He's going to go out like this because I don't think the domino effect's not going to stop. But he mismanages everything across the board. And I think that's a problem right there.
Dude, it bothers me, man, because Parcero's talking about this lineup that we're supposed to out-hit everybody, but it's the truth. I can't get over it, man. If you just
who's supposed to out-hit everybody? Go up and down this lineup. Tell me who's supposed to be great in this lineup. Outside of Harper, Castellanos, and Schwarber. And Schwarber's not even great in my mind. But
no, he's not even great.
JT
was supposed to be. Alec Boehm's actually been raking despite his, issues in the field. Gene's hitting close around 300 this year.
And you lost him yesterday too.
Yeah. And then, so I'm just saying, like, on paper, I mean, when you think of the likes, and we talked about it all preseason, right? The pitches these guys should be seeing, because Bryce Harper's in front of Nick Castellanos and he's in front of Rhys Hoskins, and you can't go around everybody. That just hasn't been the case. They're so inconsistent. It bothers me so bad because I had such high expectations. So to answer your question, Phil, the process Sixers were probably more fun because it pains you, right? Back then you had no expectations, and you're right. You knew hopefully it was building to something great. And although we haven't gotten past the second round, it worked, right? Like, we had Joel Embiid because of that, right? We wouldn't have him without that. When I look at this team, I had such high expectations.
I got an even better one for you guys. All right, so the process Sixers was more fun and enjoyable. So who was the bigger disappointment then? This Phillies team as it is right now, or the Dream Team Eagles? Because there was all the money spent. Just like this Phillies team's got all this money spent over the tax. And then you go out on the Eagles, you sign, who was that? Was that the Nnamdi Asomugha?
Nnamdi, Jason Babin, Colin Jenkins.
That's a tough one.
And that team went 8-8. Totally underperformed. And I got that roster up here. There's some really talented guys on that roster. LaShawn McCoy, Deshaun Jackson, Macklin was still here. Babin had like almost 20 sacks that year, 18 sacks that year. Trent Cole was still here. That team had a lot of
4-game winning streak too.
I mean, these are the things I think of when I'm getting ready for the show. Like, what could be worse or what was better? Dude, I mean, that team was as disappointing as they came as well in 2011.
Yeah. I think that 2011 team, I don't think they were running what I'm trying to say, a system that was conducive to what they had as far as personnel goes. This Phillies team, I just feel like they are just flat out. I know it's as cliche as it is, but they're just not living to the expectations. And when I this is one point I mentioned here today. That one thing that I don't hear anyone talking about when you watch this Phillies team right now. Do you see any type of confidence or swagger being displayed out there on any given night? No, and I think that is a problem with it as well. We all are throwing our hands out there and yelling at the front office to fire Joe Girardi, and I hear them. I definitely do hear them. And when I see that, when I see Schwarber, Castellanos, Harper, Hoskins, Real Muto looking the way they do, this team looking the way it does, you do have to point at the manager. Why aren't these guys playing with confidence? Why aren't these guys playing with swag? Your job as a manager is not to go out there and hit the ball or catch the ball or pitch the ball.
It's
Your
to
job
inspire.
out there is to manage a baseball team, manage the dugout.
Mentality. They have a loser mentality, and the manager isn't doing anything to pick them up. Look, I mean, I know I know Mark, who joins us here, part of Team DSM, shared a clip of Joe Girardi out there fielding ground balls with his son yesterday. And look, I have no problem with him doing that. None at all. Because you know what? Baseball players and the coaches, they're in the stadium from 12 o'clock in the afternoon till game time. There's downtime. They're not going to be on the field in a 90-degree weather for 10 hours working on ground balls. But it's the optics of it. And the fact that this team has no energy, loser mentality. And we mentioned it before, Dylan. I don't know if you heard it, El Parcero, but the messages going between players and their families about how lifeless they look and how they don't look like they want to be out there. This is something that even if you don't fire Joe Girardi, if you fire him next week or whatever, this kind of loser mentality can change the culture of this team for not just the rest of this year, for years going forward. Because you got guys on this team. Losing is contagious. That losing mentality is contagious. You would hope that they'd be able to snap out of it pretty quickly. But it's not necessarily true. This could be something that gets ingrained in these young kids' head that losing is okay. And it's not. And I think that's a problem right there.
Well, if that becomes the case, then you have to gut the roster at a certain point, and that would just set this thing back so far. Because what is Bryce Harper here for then? For over a decade. My question is this though, and I get it. It starts with the manager, and I firmly agree with you guys. And he needs to go, and he mismanages everything, and he's not inspiring. He's lackadaisical. None of it works, right? My question is when you're Nick Castellanos, when you're Kyle Schwarber, what did we hear about before the season, right? Not just how talented these two are, and the same goes for Bryce Harper. Not just the talent they bring to the team, their winning culture. How they've only been, not Castellanos specifically with the Reds, but Schwarber's only been on winners, right? Castellanos wants to win. He's a gamer, right? My question to these guys, these superstars that came here to build something special, sign long-term deals here to build something special with this lineup. When are you going to wake up? When are you going to just step up and say, you know what? Maybe just the three of us, we need to jumpstart things. The two of us, we need to jumpstart things because it's not getting through to anybody else. You know what's contagious, Phil and Parcero? Hitting. Hitting's contagious. Winning's contagious. So, I mean, guys.
3 for 17 yesterday with runners in scoring positions.
They don't have a hit with the bases loaded this year.
At all.
I'm pretty sure they're 0 for 9 with the bases loaded this year, or something right around that. And there's also the same thing with Castellanos and Schwarber for that matter. How many times, I think Schwarber's done it twice, and I know Castellanos has done it, where they're 0 for their last 17. Schwarber's been 0 for 21 like twice this season. When is that going? That's not the manager. That's you. That's your approach.
It is the manager. Because when you breed that loser mentality or that lifeless mentality,
it starts there. But at a certain point, when does the winner in you, in Kyle Schwarber, say enough?
Kyle Schwarber really a winner? Look,
he's been on winners.
Yeah, he has been, but he's not. Look, Kyle Schwarber is what he is. He's performing below, but he's a 220 hitter. He's a guy that strikes out a lot, hits a lot of home runs, and draws walks. He's having a bad year. There's no doubt about it. But it's that mentality, for the veterans. We talked about it already. They screw up. There's no consequences. Mickey Moniak goes 0 for 2. He's yanked from the game.
Yep.
Alec Bohm commits an error. He's out of the lineup for 3 days. Odubel Herrera makes a boneheaded error. he starts every game after that.
Yeah.
So it starts there, and then that translates into the players. It translates to the players and how they're batting. They don't want to have to get better because they don't care. Because that's the mentality that they've been groomed by their manager to have.
I have a player for you guys that I want to throw out there and see just how much you think his decline has affected the team overall. And that's the highest paid catcher in baseball. I know he drove in like a run or two last night. I know he was okay last night. How much has his decline he hasn't been great defensively. He's been fine defensively, right? And he is a struggle at the plate. And I'm in that Phillies group that Kata had sent to us. And I've seen a couple people, they're Philly fans. I get it. Maybe they're younger. I don't know. But guys, I don't understand the hate for JT. He's still top 10 in it. He's being paid to be 1. I'm not saying he's got to perform at 1, even though we would hope he would. Top 3, top 5. I don't want to hear that he's top 10 in this and he's top 15 in this and he's okay. We're paying him to be the best catcher in baseball. How much has his decline affected this team? Because he was supposed to be another leader in the middle of this lineup. He was supposed to be another 280, 290 type of hitter, even though we need him to hit for a little bit more power. He's called, and that's another thing that I don't think gets talked about enough. I'm sorry. He calls a horrible game.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I brought it up a bunch of times this year and early in the season, even before the decline really started. Can you win? Like I've talked about, can you win paying a wide receiver the money like Tyreek Hill and Devontae Adams is getting? I'm like, can you win paying a catcher that kind of money? Has always been my theory. Just think about it. What JT is doing right now.
Right. What's the drop off? Yeah.
Where the drop off is now. Even if that's even if it doesn't get any worse, he just stays where he's at. And say you're paying a random catcher $10 million to do what JT is doing right now. Then you have $14 more million to go out and get a better reliever. Or a better fielder. Or someone that can actually physically bat leadoff successfully. JT is literally one of the main things that's holding this team back. And I'm not holding it against him. He's got to be better, obviously. But when you're spending that kind of money on a catcher, look at the teams around the league. How many catchers?
Dude, a lot of teams platoon that position.
Yeah. How many teams are spending $10 million on 2 catchers, let alone 24 on 1? It's a massive problem.
It definitely hurts you, man.
Well, God.
One point I was just going to mention real quick. I think this series is kind of telling that as well. Like, we're going up against our former manager, Gabe Kapler. And Gabe's coming off of NL Manager of the Year. He's got those guys competing again this season. And he had some wacky decisions yesterday that actually worked, like the double substitution for La Stella and Yastrzemski in the was that the 4th inning. That was big. And what I'm noticing, and it's kind of like hitting me when I'm watching this, is that why is it that Gabe is winning now with the Giants? And we have some talented pieces here in Philly. Like, I do think that the reason, and this is agreeing with what Dylan had to say earlier. At some point, these players got to look at themselves in the mirror, and they do have to step it up. Like, I do think that Girardi firing can bring someone in here and fire him up a little bit, but again, that's just kind of, you're trying a new manager again. Like, these guys need to step it up again, and this series is kind of highlighting that again.
Can I ask you guys a question? Because I brought it up yesterday, and we really didn't get a set answer. It was just a thought. I haven't even formulated my answer on this question yet. Is how Dylan? You say how much is JT hurting this team? How much is general manager Bryce Harper affecting this team? Because you look at the players they bring in and spend big money on. It's the guys that Bryce wants them to. Not necessarily the right guys. Not necessarily guys that fit what you need. You spent money on Schwarber and Castellanos when we needed a leadoff hitter. You spent money on JT.
Well, they thought they got that in Schwarbs.
Yeah, they thought, yeah.
Well, I mean, Schwarbs had a little cup of coffee as a successful leadoff hitter. But I think if you look at his body of work, he's not a leadoff hitter. How much of it, this is not basketball where the stars control. Joel Embiid says, I want another star on this team. Go get me James Harden. And that maybe it works. Or Kevin Durant says, go get me this person. This is baseball. It's different. How much is Bryce Harper's wanting to be the GM and call who he brings in here? How much is that hurting this team?
So what Phil's asking is, who's the worst player GM? Is it Bryce Harper or Kevin Hayes?
Basically, I'm asking who's the worst player.
Or
GM?
LeBron. LeBron's got to be in the argument.
LeBron would be the ultimate of them all. Yeah.
I don't know. I hear you. Trust me, because in hindsight now, especially with the JT thing, if he can't turn it around, that sets them back and that hurts them. I was all for the JT move at the time. This before the season started, I was going bananas when they signed Schwarber and Castellanos. So I don't necessarily take back the signings. It's did you foresee any of this? Like, I didn't foresee Kyle Schwarber coming here and hitting sub 200. I didn't see JT Realmuto after 1 year, right? Because he wasn't even that great last year. He was okay last year. After 1 year of being here, he gets paid and just having a steady decline in the wrong direction, right? I didn't see Nick Castellanos just being okay since he's been at Philly. So on paper, I love the signings. They make sense to me, to be honest. But in hindsight now, yeah, I mean, I guess you can definitely crush it.
Well, I'm curious why people didn't expect a 200 batting average or below 200 batting average from Kyle Schwarber. Because these were his averages throughout his career. 246, 211, 238, 250, 188 in the short 2020 season, 253. And then, last year last year was split. So it was 253 with the Nationals and 291 with the Red Sox. Right. Outside of that stretch of 41 games with the Red Sox, you take that out, he's a 200 hitter. And he's had a below 200 average one season. So it's what he is.
I know they're low twos, but I think the difference from like a 246 to like 196 is drastic. Like 246 still isn't anything good.
I don't think I never expected 246. I expected
like 230 at least.
215 to 220 from him. That's why I got hammered. I said when we signed him, we hadn't gotten Nick Castellanos yet. I said we got the bronze medal of free agency. And people were all over that and all. And it's you didn't get the best. You went for the third best that was available after the lockout, not before the lockout. That's the problem of this organization right there.
His strikeouts kill me, guys.
Dude,
every night he's getting like 1 or 2 strikeouts a game. It's like, when can you just have a game without a strikeout?
Dude, I know. It's really, I said it all year. I've said it for a while now, Parcero. Like, their approach at the plate doesn't make sense to me just as a viewer. Like, I trust me, I know it might be the most difficult thing. You know how people have the conversations, what's more difficult, hitting in the major leagues or playing golf or whatever, right? They compare the sports. What's most difficult? It's one of the most difficult things to do, right? Be a professional Major League Baseball hitter. I understand you get confused or crossed up, or you were looking this and got this, right? But when I sit here, and it's not just Schwarber, when it's Rhys Hoskins, when it's Nick Castellanos, when it's Bryce Harper, and I see first pitch 94 down the plate, bat on shoulders, and then I see the very next pitch 86. Doesn't look good from the jump. It's at his knees to start and then just dives down, and they're leaning, swinging, looking stupid. I don't get the approach. I know you can get confused and swing at bad pitches at times, but so often every game, it's take a heater down the middle, swing at junk. Take a change up down the middle, swing at something by your eyes. It doesn't make sense, dude. I don't know how it looks appealing.
I think Rhys Hoskins yesterday in the 10th inning against Duvall, he takes this slider that I'm literally telling you, like, it's nowhere near the strike zone, and you got Rhys Hoskins like reaching for this pitch. Dude, it's in the ground. What I'm
questioning, like, I want to know. I just want to stand in the box and see what they see, because there's no way a pitch like that, for example, Parcero, looks appetizing. It's from leaving the pitcher's hand. It's not a strike. And the bat's coming off your shoulders.
Odubel Herrera swung at a pitch that bounced between his legs.
Yeah.
He got
swung and missed at a pitch.
Baseball.
And he never got picked for that. So again, this Schwarber or Hoskins or Odubel, the extreme version, there's no repercussions for poor play. Because loser mentality, loser attitude, it's okay. It's acceptable.
Did you guys talk about Ranger Suarez yet?
We briefly did. Velasquez can't get through 5 innings.
I think I want to see some more. His pitch counts is really worrying me. Now, I'm gonna sound crazy when I say this, but I would have left Ranger in the fifth inning because when I see Nick Nelson coming out there, like I don't feel comfortable. Nick Nelson got put into a tough spot, but no, like Ranger Suarez averaging like 20 pitches an inning is not okay. And he's got to get that down. But I do believe in him simply because he's got the mentality to be a starting pitcher in this league. The dude does not get frazzled. He will have his stretches where, you know, he throws a couple of bad pitches. Like he starts off the game with bases loaded in the first inning. And like, come on, dude, it's a first
Well, that's
inning.
where the pitch count gets
He's
killed.
got a really bad tempo out there too. The one game I went to earlier this year with Jason, he was the starting pitcher. It was a Friday night, and it literally he only made it through 3 innings that game, but it literally took an hour and a half, and we were just into the second inning or third inning.
Yeah,
He's got to work on his tempo. I like you, Parcera. I'm ready to give him a little bit longer. Look, we're giving Zach Eflin a 7-year leash here. Maybe someday figure it out. People are ready to pull on Ranger Suarez. This is his first season as a starting pitcher.
Phil,
I mean, what? Go
Phil,
ahead.
to kind of reel it all back into the core issue here, what Parcero just said and what we were discussing earlier. Did you notice the name he just said came in the fifth inning last night?
Yeah, Nick Nelson.
Okay, so he came in the fifth inning last night in a close ball game, and about a week ago, less than a week ago, he was throwing the 8th and the 9th inning with a lead in Atlanta.
I'm surprised he didn't have Corey.
Explain the management of the bullpen to me, please.
Familia pitching 3 straight days.
He never had to manage a bullpen. He
Please.
just put Mariano Rivera out there every single day in the ninth inning.
Phil,
Betances, Chapman.
hold on. But you, Parcero, we would know that don't do that. Like, how is this dude, this young dude, by the way, in one situation, he's got to get the last, the last 3 outs, which everybody knows is different than any other inning you're coming in the relief in, right? You have him in that situation, and 4 days later, he's in the 5th. What is the role, Joe? Is he a back end guy? Is he a middle guy?
And to me, like, it comes down to analytics. Like, I know people, you know, it's the way the sport goes, but at some point, like, you got to say, F the analytics. I'm sorry, I don't know if we're allowed to curse here or not. F the analytics. But I don't like. I'm sorry, but I don't care if Rangers pitches 120 pitches yesterday when we need wins right now, and you're gonna put in your best option is Nick Nelson, and his love for former Yankees is absolutely ridiculous. It's getting too much at this point. But yeah, I mean, Joe, he just does not know how to manage a bullpen. That's to say the least. And the analytics kill it too.
Manage anything.
Yeah. So let's wrap this Phillies talk up here. What can happen, guys, in the next 24 hours, the next 2 weeks, the next 4 weeks to turn this around? Because it doesn't seem like Joe Girardi's going to go. Or what has to happen so that Dave Dombrowski finally says, or John Middleton finally says, yeah, enough's enough, you're out. What has to happen in the next 24 hours to 24 days?
I do think this front office is not ready to give up on him.
Yeah. No.
I'm giving him 18 days, and that's about it. I said this yesterday, June 18th. If this team doesn't have a over 500 record, then he's out.
June 18th to have a 500 record. Let me count. That's not
over.
many. Over. That's
we got 8 games to make up right now.
Yeah, that's a lot of games to make up. A lot of games to make up in 18
Actually,
days.
17 because we have tomorrow off.
There's a doubleheader on Friday the 17th, so we got that.
They're splitting that.
Yeah. And it's against Washington. You know, you got five. I think you got 5 games against Washington there. The 17th. Yeah, over 3 days. You got this Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You got 5-game series against the Nationals. Can they go 2-3 in that 5-game series against one of the worst teams in baseball?
I agree with Parcero. I don't think they're ready to give up on Girardi. I really don't think it's happening. If they are to turn things around, Phil, wow, this is the biggest if ever. But I think the lineup has to do exactly what you paid it to do. Forget Girardi managing the bullpen correctly. It's not going to happen. Forget a blown save here and there not happening. It's going to happen. Forget the starters each going 6 2/3, 7 innings every night. It's not going to happen. Everyone's talking about the bullpen over the last 3 nights. And don't get me wrong, it hasn't been pretty, especially with what Corey Knebel did when you had leads deep into games. But in the last 3 games, all in the extra inning losses, the Phillies have put up 2, 4, and 4 runs. Does that sound good enough to win ball games in 10 and 11 innings? No, it doesn't. Not with this lineup, not with the runners in scoring position you've had. So with the schedule coming up, as Parcero mentioned, and I understand, Phil, I'm with you. It's bad team versus bad team right now, but I look at what the lineup should be with the Phillies, and I know they should or are better than the stinking Nationals, than the stinking Diamondbacks, and whatever other stinking team Parcero said they play coming up. If this lineup can produce against these bad pitchers, these bad bullpens, these bad teams, I think they could get back to 500 not quickly, but fairly quickly.
Yeah,
and if you're, my question is to you guys, right? We're at the lowest of lows right now, and I think another thing is we're looking at the number between us and the Mets. Forget winning the NL East. I don't know what the number is with the wild card right now, but if they can get to 500, if you're 500 in August, do you have a chance? You have a chance to probably make a wild card, right?
Probably, yeah.
Probably, you would think.
So it's that so far out of reach that they'll be 500 2 months from now. I don't know.
Well, I'm putting up the wild card. Right now, the Phillies are 7 games back of the 3rd wild card spot. And it's not, the 7 games back isn't horrendous. It's the fact that there's 1, 2, 3, 4. They got 5 teams they would have to. San Francisco, the Giants are the last wild card team right now. They're the 3rd wild card team.
Right.
You have to pass 5 teams. The Pirates have are ahead of you in the wild card team.
That's
the Rockies
that is
are
crazy right now.
You are tied with the Marlins. The 20 and 29 Cubs are only a half a game behind you.
The Rockies are ahead of you.
Yeah, it's bad.
Diamondbacks.
So
Oh,
that,
God.
You can, like, the games back. Sometimes people don't. It's a lot or it's not a lot. It's how many teams you have to pass as well, because then you got to expect every team ahead of you to be worse than you as well. So you've got a lot of teams ahead of you. So it's scary. It's sad. It's putting Parcero to sleep even thinking about it right now. And I can't wait.
Standings are putting me to sleep.
Let me ask you guys this. What would you prefer? Them to stay on pace with right now, which would be agonizing, but you'd have a carefree summer because you'd have no expectations, no want, right? Or them to reel you back in and roll the dice in September. Because at this point, I'm looking at the summer like, man, more time down the shore, not having to worry about the Phillies, blah, blah, blah. Or do I want to be reeled back in and possibly have my heart broken again for the
I want to
third
be reeled back in because I do this show every single morning, and till training camp starts in July, I got nothing to talk about.
Other than talking about WWE. You watch that?
Yeah. Dude, you guys got to go. Are you guys WWE fans?
I used to. I watched WrestleMania just because I knew Austin was coming back.
I don't watch much of it anymore, but I had a guest on my golf podcast, Fairway to Heaven, last night, Scotty Holdridge, great guy, and he took his glasses off, and then literally the comments started flowing, and he looked exactly like John Morrison, former WWE wrestler, and like literally I looked at it, I'm like, damn. He was like Clark Kent. He was Scotty with the glasses on. He took his glasses off, and he was John Morrison.
He was on Survivor, wasn't he?
Was he? I don't know.
I think so.
I don't know.
Not a Survivor fan, Phil?
Nah, I don't think I've watched 30 minutes of that show ever in my life. I don't like reality shows, like reality show competitions. I don't get into them, man. Not at all. Real quick, guys, before we wrap this show up, I want to get your guys' thoughts real quick. Philly sports media. Another big breaking news yesterday. Legend, whether you like him or not, Mike Missinelli, done at the Fanatic yesterday. Kind of caught off guard. Kind of completely out of left field. Now him, Angelo eventually here soon, Jim Gardner, Ray Didinger, man, another one in Philadelphia media. I don't think Mike Missinelli is completely retired. I think he'll be back somewhere at some point.
He'll be doing what we do right here.
Yeah, I mean, Yeah, I was hoping that we'd change trending in the AM to trending in the afternoon, and we could put on the Fanatic in his place. But man, thoughts on Mike Missinelli being let go, stepping down, whatever you want to call it, from the Fanatic? Because he was a guy I loved. I mean, he's got me blocked. That's Coggins' fault. I already blamed him yesterday for that. Uncle Coggin got me blocked by Missinelli, but
He blocks
I mean,
a lot of people.
I've been listening to Mike Missinelli back when he was the what was his show called, the Mike, and it was Fredericks. What was Fredericks' first name?
He was on ESPN, wasn't he?
Fredericks.
No, Mike Missinelli.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. Steve Fredericks and Mike Missinelli had an afternoon show. We're talking back in the mid '90s, and that's when I started listening to Mike Missinelli on a regular religious basis. So I don't listen to him anymore, but it's going to be crazy to not see his face on the Fanatic anymore.
It's sad for me, man. Listen, I know a lot of people disliked him. I listened to him the most and watched him the most, obviously, since it was on television, than any other, sport media or radio show host in the city. Fun fact, my sophomore year of college, for a class, I had to interview someone in my field, and obviously I wanted to do sport media specifically in Philadelphia. So I emailed Mike Missinelli, and he answered all my questions and got me an A on my presentation for a person in my field.
Mike.
So shout out to Mike for that.
Mike.
He's polarizing, right? You either love him or you hate him, but you damn sure have to respect him. And to do it for that
I think
long,
that's a perfect sum up right there. You love him or hate him, but you got to respect him.
Yeah.
And to do it for so long is really impressive. So it'll be weird. It'll be weird to see where they go from here.
I for me personally, like, my first car was a 2010 Chevy Malibu, and that's when I found out about sports radio. Like, I put on, I think it was 97.5. I'm like, wait, there's actual people talking sports on the radio. Like, I never knew this. Like, you guys know me, how I grew up with immigrant parents. Like, they don't know anything about sports or sports radio. So I'm like, holy crap. And Mike Miss was the first guy. And like, between him and Gargano, like, they really got me into thinking like, hey, like, you can also talk sports. And I've always had that dream. And obviously you guys see today that we're reaching those goals and that dream. And for Mike Miss, like, you got, like Dylan said, like, either you love him or you hate him, but you got to respect him. And I think that the reason why Mike can be hated is, I do think that a lot of times his takes are always with the same thought process behind it. He always thinks logically. He always has like this people first mentality as well. Like, he does think like the people aspect of sports. That's what I love about it, because I love the people aspect of sports. And I do think that he rubbed some people the wrong way, but he always held every one of these teams accountable. Where they go to be interesting. I don't know if you guys saw the crossing broad.
Tyrone and Broads.
I think that's the best move possible. Like, all these guys are retiring, and although it does suck, I actually do like it, because it means that there is a new day. There's going to be a new day of Philly sports. There are going to be new faces of Philly sports talk. And so now it means, like, for us here and forever who is doing internet type of growth with sports media, it's your time. You just saw how Broads made a platform for himself on YouTube. We can all do the same. It just takes some hard work and just taking the grind day by day. But I think 97.5 will be fine. I think 94.1 will be fine. Actually, I listened to the morning show at WIP. That's the first time I listened to it in like 6 years, and it actually was pretty good. I really don't like it all day. We can get to it another day. But I thought it was really good. And I think this is great for Philly sports. It's time to turn the page. It's time for the new generation to show up. It's just like sports.
I agree with what you said. Hunter Broads, gives everybody hope that, building a platform and stuff like that. So, I mean, I'm not saying I like
Fun fact,
dislike, but what's that?
Fun fact, sophomore year as well of college, I interned at 97.3 ESPN, and Broads was just starting on air with Gil at 97.3 when I was there.
2010 was your first car? God damn.
It was actually 2012 was my first car.
Well, I mean,
2010. It was a 2010 car.
1983 two-door Buick Century, man. It was made of steel. It was like this tank rolling down the road. And it was in 96, but it was an 83 Buick, my first car.
Tell us your age without telling us your age, Phil.
Exactly. All right, guys, we got to wrap it up there for the day here, Trending in the AM. Thanks to Dylan for joining us. Make sure you shoot him a follow, DylanJD98. Parcero joining us here on the fly at Parcero Philly. Keep up the kick-ass work, gentlemen. Back tomorrow, Scotty, and I'm not going to try to butcher his name anymore. One of the NBA guys from the Ringer, Esfandari Bahini. I think that's how you say his name. I'm going to practice before he comes on tomorrow. We're going to talk basketball. We're going to talk the NBA Finals and stuff like that tomorrow. We're going to, unless Joe Girardi gets fired, which we know is not going to happen. So everybody have a great day. We'll talk to you tomorrow. And thanks a lot, guys.
Dupe.